Thanks, guys. Waynesburg, undefeated. They're 8-0, first time since 1966. It's been all the hype, and that 1966 team went on to win the national championship of the NAIA, and they're going to face, of course, Westminster. They're 3-3. But what are the huge keys for Waynesburg to finally get that 9-0 and possibly advance to that undefeated regular season?
Yes. Trying to go for that undefeated season we are today. And there's 3 keys I have to keep an eye on. Key matchups, the Waynesburg run game versus the Westminster run D. That's the first one. And the second one, whether the Waynesburg D can contain Westminster quarterback Dak Britt. Third one, the special teams battle. Keep an eye on these matchups. Now, when you look at the run game, Steve, the Waynesburg has relied on their rushing attack all season. And not one team they face has been able to slow down that rushing attack. But what I fear is that when they run into a team that can stop Bertrand Nagamba, stop Don Moore, I don't know if their offense, led by Carter Hill, will be able to pass their way back. I just am not convinced yet. So keep an eye on the Westminster D. Look for them to contain Nagamba and Moore. And then the next matchup, Dak Britt, quarterback for Westminster, going against the Waynesburg D. You know, as we heard earlier this week, Brian Gary, he's going to be out of this matchup with an injury. I talked to Coach Shepis earlier this week. He said the team is, it doesn't only hurt the defense, but it hurts the team altogether. He says that Gary is an emotional leader who not only brings energy to the team, but just brings everyone around him together and makes everyone else better. So look for the loss of Brian Gary to potentially, set the defense back. Junior Mike, he's a freshman, Mike Lopahovsky is going to be filling in for Gary this week. So keep an eye on number 7 on the field today. See if he can run around the field, make tackles like Gary does, and really be an enforcer. As I mentioned earlier, Dak Britt, the quarterback, dual threat kind of guy. Division II transfer. He's got the ability to take off and run. Last week, he had 2 long touchdown runs. So keep an eye on the Waynesburg defense. See if they can contain him. See if they can keep him from breaking off a long game. That will be key. Also, he not only can run it, but he can pass the ball as well. He's thrown 9 touchdowns on the year. So look for the secondary to keep an eye on the receivers. And the one receiver to keep an eye on is Westminster receiver Gino Pasquinelli. Pasquinelli is a big target for Britt. He played well against Waynesburg last year. He causes matchup problems too, which is what I'm a little fearful about. He's a big receiver, big at the Division III level. And the Waynesburg corners, except for Chalevics, they're not the biggest. Sampson and Turnage, they average about 5'8", 5'9", whereas Pasquinelli is around 6'1". He weighs about 215. It's a big matchup problem for the secondary of the Yellow Jackets. So keep an eye on that matchup. Finally, the special teams. As we've seen the last couple weeks, special teams have been a key factor in the games. All the PAC games lately have been close for Waynesburg. So keep an eye on Alex Henry. Will he make his extra points? He's made all of them this year. Will he make a field goal if he's in there? Also, Christian Jackson. He's come real close to breaking a long one. He has a long of 80 yards on a kickoff return earlier this year, but he didn't score. But he's been coming very close and very close. Talked to Coach Falvo earlier in the week. He thinks Jackson is very, very close to breaking one. So maybe he'll break one this week.
Yeah, you mentioned Christian Jackson. He actually did return one that went all the way, but it was called back on a penalty. Plus, he had that 80-yard return. As you had mentioned, he's leading the league in kick return average, and also he's second in the league in punt return average. And you mentioned the running game, too, of Waynesburg, Bertrand Nagamba. He broke his career record at 206 yards just 2 weeks ago, and last week he added another 120-some rushing yards against Geneva.
The football team has been using the analogy of a ladder this season. This is the 9th step in the ladder. The 9th step, only one step after that, but they're not looking past this game. I see the running game continuing to flourish, continuing to dominate with Nagamba, the elusive back. He can break a big play. Don Moore pounding it inside between the guards. Look for the rushing attack to continue to dominate on the defensive side of the ball. I think it's going to be a setback with losing Gary, but I think the talent you have on the defensive line of Fedorka and Matt Krause will overcome that injury of Gary, and they will carry the team to a victory. I'm saying this one's going to be close. It's going to be close like all the last ones have been, but I think Waynesburg's going to continue winning, and that 9th step on the ladder will be reached.
That's it for us. Thanks for watching the WUSN pregame show. We'll be back at halftime for the D3Sports.com Top 25. After the break, we'll have live action at Westminster and Waynesburg. Stay tuned.